Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September 11th meeting of the Women Product Toastmasters. I will be your Sergeant at Arms today. My name is Amy Kirkland, and today our theme is working with your product pod. In other words, you as the PM, the engineering lead, and the designer. I've also heard this called the triad, and this is a very important group as a product manager. Those people, that group of those three are definitely the ones that are leading the product development organization and what the work gets done. So I'm excited to hear other people's take on how they work with their product pod, and I'm excited for this meeting today. So at this time, I'd like to introduce our president, Rosie Hernandez.
Thank you, Amy. I swear I'm always sick. But yes, thank you so much for the mic. Today's club business that I wanted to run through is membership renewals were due Friday. If you haven't submitted your renewals in yet, please send those over to Amelia. If you have any questions on how to get those done or anything like that, reach out to her. And the other thing I wanted to share is we wanted to provide more visibility into the progress goals that we work towards throughout the year. So last year we got the highest status, so to speak, in the Toastmasters world, which is President's Distinguished Club, which is really awesome. It means that we accomplished 9 out of the 10 goals that they have set for us. If you click the link in the agenda, you'll be able to see kind of what they measure us up against. Great news, we just got one this weekend, I think, or this past week, thanks to Amelia for helping us get to some of those membership renewals on time. And so we have 8 more goals to go before we can get to that President's Distinguished status again. I just wanted to give you all visibility. We'll probably be talking about it more. What this means for you all is that we need to get through our pathways. And so I encourage you all to look at the online curriculum that Toastmasters offers us. If you haven't done one in a while, I'll probably be signing up because I think it's been a while for me too. But yes, I wanted to touch on that for today. The other thing I wanted to ask you all is if you could click on the link for the District 101 survey and then fill it out. I think they're trying to plan some in-person stuff. I do remember it being based out of Northern California, so might not be as accessible to everyone, but still there's an option to attend like the conference hybrid, so that'll be great for us. And then there's going to be a Q&A meeting following today's meeting, so if you're a guest or just have any general questions on pathways, membership dues, etc., stay after the meeting. And then I wanted to also pass the mic to any new guests or any guests that are joining us today. Tina, we'd love to hear like what brought you in today, a little bit about yourself, that sort of thing. Or why Toastmasters?
Why Toastmasters? I've always heard about the organization and I've always been really interested in joining a club. And when I was with Comcast, we had a Toastmasters, but I never got to be able to sign up. And so I wasn't sure how you could actually join if you weren't joining through your company. But when I saw a discussion about it on the Women in Product Facebook group, I was like, oh, here's my chance. And so I just, want to get better at kind of public speaking. And I'm hoping, that Toastmasters would be a good fit for that.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Let's see, Cynthia, would you like to let us know why Toastmasters and what brought you here today?
Yes, thank you for the introduction. I was interested in Toastmasters for a long time to improve my public speaking. I work in technology. I've been consulting and systems for over 20 years. And whenever it came to presenting in front of my team or presenting to management in front of a team, I always felt that there are points I could have brought across a lot clearer, and sometimes I would just kind of choke. It was just the stress factor. And I'm hoping that this will help me uh, improve on that area.
Got it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And then we'll move through the agenda now. So I'll introduce Lori, who is the Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Madam President, and welcome fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's my pleasure to be the Toastmaster today for a topic that I personally fell in love with at a young age. And I will call out, Amy gave us a preview for next meeting's topic. At first I was like, wait, did I get the topic wrong? Because I totally would do that. That's something I do. But today's topic is actually going to be about problem solving. So problem solving is something that I personally love. And I want to know from you all, by a show of hands, how many of you love problem solving too? Okay, just as I thought. Everybody in this room loves problem solving. And that is probably exactly why we're product managers or are interested in product management. So we know that PMs get hired to solve some of the most complex problems there are, but we aren't just paid to solve these problems. We're also paid to identify problems that people don't even know that they have. How crazy is that? So my grandma would say, that's just nonsense. Whose job is that? Why would someone pay you to do that? Well, someone's got to do the job, and we're here to do it. One of the world's best problem solvers of all time is somebody that I also personally enjoy studying, and that is the great Albert Einstein. He has many famous quotes around problem solving, but one of them that always stuck with me as a product manager is something that I'd like to share with you all today. And that is, if I had 1 hour to solve a problem, I'd spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. I just love this quote. This is critical for product managers because it is natural for humans to jump to the solution space. I'm sure most of the time what comes to us as PMs is solutions to begin with. We don't even get the problem. We just get how somebody wants us to solve it. But if we don't truly understand the problems we're solving, how can we ensure we have the right solution for it? And oftentimes, when we're presented with the problem, it turns out that it's not actually the root problem that needs to be solved. So spending more time in the problem space allows you to ask questions to uncover the right problem to solve. So this week, I challenge you all to spend a little bit more time in the problem space this week. So our meeting today has 3 different sections into it. So before we get into our first section of today's meeting, I want to share with our guests and everybody here how we're going to go about the meeting so you all have an understanding of what we're doing today. But before we do that, I'm going to describe the 3 sections, and then we're going to have the general evaluator just help describe her team and the roles that they'll be doing today. So our first section of today's meeting is prepared speeches. We have 2 wonderful speakers today that are going to be completing part of their pathway and enlightening us with problem-solving related speeches. The second is table topics. This is an impromptu round of speaking, so we can all practice that scary, getting put on the spot, having to gather our thoughts, and then also provide a clear answer to the question that we're being asked. And then the third section is evaluations and feedback. This allows us to all keep improving and getting that real-time feedback based on today's meeting. So to refresh everyone about our evaluation portion and our roles today, I'm going to turn it over to our general evaluator so she can introduce her team, and each one of them can share a little bit about the role that they'll be performing. Our general evaluator today is Shermai. Shermai is our VP of PR and the co-founder of PriceOps. She's been in the technology industry for over 10 years and is now taking on her newest adventure of being an entrepreneur. Shermai, I'm going to turn it over to you so you can introduce your team for today.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. The purpose of general evaluator is to evaluate everything that takes place throughout the meeting. So during the meeting, I will take notes on everything that happens and doesn't happen. I will evaluate each participant on the meeting program and look for good examples of preparation organization, delivery, enthusiasm, observation, and performance of duties. At the end of the meeting, I will give you my report. So I have a great team of members helping me with the evaluations today. Laurie, is it okay if I go ahead and introduce them? All right.
Yes, please do.
All right. Thank you. And let me go ahead and pull up. All right. So our we have two speeches today, and our first speech evaluator is going to be Sirisha Aluru. Sirisha, can you please introduce yourself and who you'll be evaluating today?
Sure. Thank you, General Evaluator Srimai. I am Sirisha Alura, and today I'll be evaluating Sarita's speech. As a speech evaluator, I'll be looking at how Sarita's speech is. There are several sections that I'll be looking at clarity and other things, and I'll be filling out the evaluation form and providing back to her as a feedback. I think we have only one speech today, and I'll be evaluating Sarita's speech. Back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sirisha. Let me just check. All right, Tiffany, you're going to be the second speaker, right? Did I get that right? Tiffany?
Yes, that is.
Oh, all right, sorry. Yeah, all right, thanks. Just wanted to make sure. So then we have our second evaluator, Jennifer Ginsberg. Jennifer, over to you to introduce yourself and whom you'll be evaluating today.
Yeah, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Ginsberg. I'm going to be Tiffany's evaluator. Just like what Srimai also mentioned, I will be looking at clarity, vocal variety, eye contact, gestures, also having an awareness of the audience and comfort level. Tiffany, I do have your Google Doc up, so I took note of that, and I'll provide feedback to you individually within your Google Doc and provide you a verbal readout as well later on in the meeting. Thank you so much. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Let me go ahead and introduce the grammarian of the day today. So today our grammarian is going to be Eva. Eva Beasley. Eva, over to you to introduce the word of the day as well as grammarian, your duties.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Just wanted to say, you know, I know it was mentioned earlier, but just never forget 9/11, what happened today, 21 years ago. And my thoughts are with anybody that was impacted or affected. But yes, the grammarian, basically it's my responsibility to pay close attention to all speakers, listening carefully to their language usage. I'll take note of any improper language and any outstanding words, quotes, sayings, or thoughts. And then as for the word of the day, it's actually a word that I love that I feel like is not used enough, but it is eclectic. And I will put this word in the comments. But eclectic basically means to derive ideas, style, or taste from a broad and diverse range of sources. To be used in a sentence would be basically, as product managers, we deal with a very eclectic range of people day to day. So back over to you.
Thank you, Eva. And yeah, thank you for mentioning about 9/11. Definitely our thoughts and prayers are with them, all the impacted. Moving on, I would like to introduce our counter. Today, it's going to be Amulya Kandikonda for our counter. Amulya, over to you to introduce a little bit about your duties today.
Thank you so much, Madam General Evaluator. The purpose of the counter is to note words and sounds that are used as crutch or pause filler by anyone who is speaking today. During the meeting, I will listen for overused words, including and, well, but, so, and you know. I will also listen for filler sounds, including and I will also note when a speaker repeats a word or phrase such as I, or this means, this means. At the end of the meeting, I will report the number of times that each speaker used these expressions. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Amulya. Next, I'd like to introduce our timer for today, and that's going to be Marguerite Osley. Marguerite, over to you to explain your role today.
Thank you, Srimai. Hi, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As timer, I will time the prepared speeches, the table topics speeches, and the evaluations. I will alert each speaker of the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red cards, which denote specific times remaining. For our prepared speeches today, I will raise the green card after 5 minutes, the yellow card after 6 minutes, and the red card at 7 minutes. For our table topic speeches, green card goes up at 1 minute, yellow at 1.5, and red at 2 minutes. And for our evaluations, green at 2 minutes, yellow at 3 minutes, and red at 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Marguerite, for that. So this is our team, and over to you, Laurie, Madam Toastmaster, for the next.
Great, thank you, Srimai. So with that, now that we know what everyone's doing in today's meeting, I am going to introduce our first speaker of the day. So our first speaker of the day is Sarita. She has been a technology product leader for around 25 years, and she has been building B2B enterprise software. She started her new job at ServiceNow as a senior manager of product management, where she'll be leading teams responsible for their new ERP workflow products. Prior to this, she was at Workday, Oracle, and PeopleSoft in various product management roles and engineering roles. She has her degree in CS&E and has started her career as a developer and later transitioned into product management in 2008. Sarita lives in the Bay Area with her husband and has recently become an empty nester. She sent those kids off to college, which is exciting. And she joined our Women in Product Toastmasters groups a few months ago. And today she's going to give us her first prepared speech. So let's give a warm welcome to Sarita. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurie. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So give me 1 second. So my topic today is on problem solving, and my goal is to inform you the importance of the skill in the society and simple ways you can build this skill both in your professional and your personal lives. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. For folks joining us at various time zones. So necessity is the mother of all invention. It means roughly that the primary driving force for most inventions starts with the need. The quality of our lives as a whole can be dramatically improved the way we deal with and solve everyday, day-to-day problems, right? Now, this could be personal needs, professional needs, or even market needs. We know that as economies grow or change and evolve, new challenges arise in the society. But this also creates new opportunities for businesses to address. And we know very well from COVID-19, we as a society faced a lot of challenges with the mandatory quarantine, work from home needs, and such. And this gave rise to a whole new and improvised business. Zoom became a household name, right? So let me tell you a story, an origin story, actually, about Airbnb and how it all started. It was 2007, and it was in San Francisco. Two youngsters, Brian Chesty and Joe Gebbia, just had moved from New York, and without employment, they were having, a great deal of difficulty paying their rent and making money. So so what happened is they noticed a lot of hotel rooms were getting booked, and as the local industry conference was going on, So what they did was they saw an opportunity there. So they went and bought a whole lot of like beds, like the air beds, and put up a site called Air Bed and Breakfast. And their idea was to offer the visitors a place to stay for that night and breakfast in the morning. And they charged $80 a piece, like per person per night. The idea was just to provide a place and make quick money, right? So they charged, like I said, $80, and the idea succeeded. They had 4 customers, 4 first customers. And what this story tells is, even though it was a very small initiative to start, they saw a problem, a need. They identified a solution for a few customers that were willing to pay and avail that service, which was the solution, and it all worked, and the rest is history. In other words, Airbnb was created with an effort to solve a gap or a problem and a necessity that existed. So good problem solving is a business skill, and that can be learned. And I'm going to show you 5 simple ways for you to build these skills. So I'm just going to switch my background, and I'm trying to play a little bit with. Okay, can you see this? Okay, kind of. Okay. So the 5 simple ways for you to solve this, build this problem solving in your day-to-day lives is first to identify and define the problem. So what does this mean? So first of all, you need to gain clarity on what this problem is, what the problem you're trying to solve is, right? And it could be understanding more about the problem, understanding and talking to people who have this problem, and gain more clarity. Second is to research and consult on the problem, meaning to research more, talk to the user, understanding the user needs better, right? And we in the PM world, we know what that means. Now, consulting on the problem is also could lend into some finding those possible solutions, could shed some light into what problems, what solutions you could come up with. So that leads to the third step is finding those different possible solutions. You can become eclectic here. And fourth is decision making. So identifying which solution you want to pick to solve the problem to best address the need. And last one is to implement on the decision or the solution. Now you may ask, we are all employees here. Businesses, they have business challenges to solve, and we in product, the way we solve problems is different. So how exactly does an employee think of solving problems? So just to reiterate, so employees in an organization are hired for different roles, and the organization or the business is solving for a big, business challenge. So we in different roles may be solving for the same problem at different levels. Think of it like a software developer. You're building the right technology solution to solve the business challenge. And as a product manager, you're playing the critical role in identifying the customer problem we are trying to solve and trying to develop innovative and creative solutions, being eclectic here. And we know as a PM, we have to pick the right problem to solve for, prioritize them. We need to research on the problem, using our decision-making skills and critical thinking skills and prioritization skills. And as a marketing professional, you're trying for ways to increase the profits for the business. So in other words, you're trying to initiate different marketing activities to message or even position the solution to the customer. So now that you know 5 simple steps and how problem solving relates to as an employee, let me just move and shift gears what it would mean for product managers. I'm going to switch and introduce you to a framework. Sorry, I'm just having some technical difficulty here. Okay. So I'm going to introduce you to a framework that I've used. Sorry if it's a little overlaid. A framework called Pursuit. It's a very common and a popular framework which is used by product managers, and at least I've used this in my day-to-day. What this means is when you're trying to solve for a problem, you need to have a clarity or a clear definition of what is the problem, right? And then, okay, so red. Second is, who is it solving for? The user, the target persona, what are the user needs? The R is the rationale, right? So understanding how does this tie into your business goal for your organization, your product goals, your customer needs, and all put together. So what and why is what these the P, U, and R addresses. Moving on to the solution and hypothesis, this is all about the S, which is the hypothesis, the prioritization. This talks about the how and when and being eclectic. And U is the uncertainty. So that means you need to assess the risks involved, mitigate the risks, and trying to also see if you're making any key assumptions right here. The I is the insights, using the data inside, your competitive insights, intelligence, and such. And T is the test metrics, of course, results and measuring your success there. You're defining the success criteria, measuring against it, your ROI. So if you'd like to know more about how to use this pursuit framework, let me know and I can share some resource links later. And I hope you've gained some simple, key takeaways and how you can use problem-solving skills in your day-to-day, both your professional life and your personal life. In conclusion, I'd like you to leave you with a happy note that one is not born with problem-solving skills. It's a lifesaver skill that one could muscle and build and develop over time. Thanks for giving me a listen.
Great job, Sharita. What a wonderful speech. And I'm definitely hitting you up for those resources afterwards. So I am going to open the floor up for 2 minutes of questions. So who has a question for Sarita? Just come off mute and feel free to ask away.
I have one question. Do you ever found yourself with a problem that you cannot find a solution for or could not apply the framework that you mentioned?
So problem solving skill is one thing that I've really muscled and developed, I think. And one way to look at this is, even though in my experience, I have, encountered, roadblocks and stumbled on, issues and risks. I have used critical thinking and crowdsourcing, with applying design thinking principles and various other frameworks that people have taught me over the years and I've learned over the years. So I think the word impossible is something which there's always a solution. Sometimes not taking the action is also a solution, right? Yeah, very, very, very minimal. Sarisha.
Yeah, thank you so much and great speech, Sarita.
Thank you.
Hey, this is Jennifer. I have a quick question for you. So oftentimes when you're looking at that problem space, you'll get an eclectic group of different ideas on how to solve things. As a product manager, how do you sort through those eclectic ideas? And do you have any guidance in terms of how to problem solve in that way from different perspectives?
Yes, as product managers, this is one of the things that we all deal with, right? So many ideas and so many problems to solve for, and then so many ideas that we all come up with, which is great. So the way I have dealt with that is using this whole framework. I don't know, different frameworks exist. Using both the design thinking framework to facilitate all the ideas. I don't know if you're aware of the divergent and convergent and double diamond approach. So once you have that, you use your data insights, your technical feasibility, viability, and all possible ways, and use it from different lens. And also the IPF, I don't know if it's a common acronym. IPF is the impact, prioritization, and effort rationale to help decide on which possible solution you want to go with and how it might impact the customer, along with the design thinking double diamond framework. So, so yeah, apply some standard frameworks.
Thanks.
Great, thank you for that. And I think we are at time for questions. So we are going to move on to our next speaker of the day. So our second speaker today is Tiffany Chang. Tiffany is PM number 1 in training at a supply chain startup. She frequently reflects on herself to constantly evaluate cross-functional collaboration and problem solving. To kickstart her level 2 of presentation mastery, she will share her self-reflections and some actionable ideas to improve communication with your peers in her speech titled What I Say and How I Say It. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany to share her wisdom with us.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, and welcome fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. Think about the last time when you were in a workplace conversation where you and another colleague appeared to be speaking at different wavelengths. Nothing was clicking. What thoughts come to mind? How did you feel at the time? This dilemma is incredibly common in any workplace, particularly in product development. This situation can feel frustrating to us product managers whenever we're working with teammates to understand, frame, or solve a customer problem. After all, we want to come out of a discussion or work session feeling like we're one step closer to delighting our customers and serving our business. Today, I'll shed light on my eclectic communication style. Then I'll share the strategies I already implemented to tap into the communicative strengths of my teammates when we assess and discuss opportunities for our product. Finally, I'll share additional strategies I would like to experiment with to continuously improve my cross-functional relationships and elevate our collective problem-solving ability. My communication style is predominantly supportive and direct, with being analytical as runner-up. This means I'm great at bubbling up information to provide the necessary context and boundaries to my teammates. I frame the problem we're trying to solve and share an anecdote or relevant qualitative or quantitative data. Sometimes I'll also elaborate on the problem by means of an analogy or an example to help others better grasp the idea I'm trying to convey. Once I'm done setting the boundaries around the problem, I let my teammates do most of the talking. I withhold my thoughts until the end. In the meantime, I ask a lot of open-ended questions and clarifying questions to dig into their thought process and steer the conversation back when I sense that it's starting to go a bit off topic. I also ask folks for some form of rationale to back up their perspective. Even a connection back to a customer anecdote is better than an idea based purely on a hypothetical assumption. And finally, when I do share my perspective, I always pair it with an estimate of my own confidence level and what I'm thinking, using phrases such as, I'm almost certain about X, or I have this hunch about Y based on this evidence. After completing the self-assessment with Toastmasters, I realized how my eclectic combination of communication styles might make it challenging for others to communicate with me due to my approachable yet strong-willed attitude and empathic yet somewhat perfectionistic tendencies. Overall, my cross-functional peers have direct or initiating dominant communication styles, and this is how I have found success in collaborating with them to solve problems together. With my fellow straightforward, direct communicators, I have to resist the sometimes strong temptation to engage in intellectual debate with them because it excludes others from participating in the discussion. Instead, I lean into my supportive style to step back and get curious about their perspective to understand where they're coming from, then invite others back to chime in with their own 2 cents. With my fun-loving, initiating communicators, I implemented a couple of strategies. As folks are trickling into a meeting, I ask them how their day is going, how they're feeling, what they're looking forward to on the weekend, and other small talk. Sometimes I'll even look up a dad joke to share with the group as we're waiting for the rest of the team to join the call, or share a funny meme I came across to get everyone relaxed before kicking off the meeting. During the discussion, if I don't fully agree with their perspective, I'll say something along the lines of, "That's an interesting point. I agree with this part, and I see this other part differently. What do you think?" Instead of being too upfront with my area of disagreement. Personally, I found it's easiest for me to work with fellow direct communicators because we both put our cards right on the table. On the other hand, I need to be a lot more intentional about how I approach conversations with initiating communicators because I prefer a focused approach to solve problems. In addition to the strategies I have already implemented, there are some additional ones I'd like to experiment with. While working with initiating communicators, I would like to set more specific guardrails around our conversation. This way, they're free to communicate in the more spontaneous nature they're most comfortable with, and simultaneously, I can ensure we cover the necessary topics around requirements, considerations, constraints, and risks before making decisions about our product. I do have a couple of peers who spike in analytical communication as well. However, we have fairly eclectic academic and professional backgrounds. So even when we look at quantitative data, we don't always extract the same insights from the data or interpret it from a similar frame of reference. Moving forward, I would like to involve them in the insights extrapolation process, or at the very least, show them my preliminary analysis, then ask them for their take on the data. Each of us is unique and dynamic. Adapting my communication style to suit eclectic audiences and situations at hand is and will be a lifelong lesson. Wrapping up, let's go back to that uncomfortable situation where you found yourself to be in the middle of a disagreement with a teammate. Take a moment now to reflect on your own communication style and that of your coworkers. What's your hypothesis for the misalignment now? And most importantly, I challenge you to think of and experiment with one thing you can start doing, stop doing, or do differently to improve communications with said teammate.
Great job, Tiffany. All right, so we are also going to give Tiffany 2 minutes for questions. So if anyone has a question for Tiffany, please come off mute and fire away.
Well, I was waiting for someone to kick it out. So thanks, Tiffany. Even I find myself very much challenging to communicate with people from different backgrounds, different time zones. And with the online communication, it's even more harder, right? So how do you deal with it's very easy to talk to people like, who talk a lot like me, right? It's just, I can kick off with a small talk and they engage pretty quickly. But I also find people who does not want to speak at all, like even with the small talk doesn't help because they're never off mute. So how do you efficiently communicate with people who are pretty much disengaged or, are shy, or I don't know what it is, but they don't talk much?
Something I've found that helps a lot with those kind of folks, myself included, sometimes I know even though I'm in Toastmasters, even though I might come across as being an extrovert, deep down, I'm actually very introverted and sometimes shy, socially anxious. So I do have a lot of empathy for people who are like that. And one thing I've done or started to do is tagging those folks in, for example, a PRD I'm working on. I just at them directly, highlight whatever section I know where they would have feedback on or additional insights that I don't have knowledge about to share with the greater team. So that's something I started doing, and I found that I'm not sure if it helps them feel more comfortable sharing that asynchronous. I don't have to worry about, how I sound, how my language comes across, those kind of things. And I found that the written format tends to help a lot of people as well. And as a bonus, it's also documented for you, so you don't have to take your own notes afterwards, unless there's anything else you want to add in addition to the information that they shared.
Oh, that's a good tip. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Sharisha.
Tiffany, I have a question, and it's one of those questions that is uncomfortable, but I love saying to get comfortable, we must be uncomfortable. So all of us here, I believe, identify as women or female. I don't want to make an assumption, but I'm going to say that out loud. I believe all of us identify as women. So there's a lot of men in product. Men like to talk over women. Men like to say, well, we were doing it this way before you started here, so why are you trying to change things? How would you kind of embrace that conversation? How would you give yourself grace in order to take a step back? Because I feel like dealing with all these men, we deal with a lot of egotistical people, and I'm trying to kind of rein in the conversation. So would love to hear your thoughts.
For sure, I actually got some feedback on my sometimes too direct way of going about things, especially with executive level stakeholders who happen to also be men. I would say, I know it's really hard, but the first thing to do is to like rein in that initial gut reaction. It might be anger, it might be frustration, it might be honestly annoyance, for lack of a better word. And really learning to first not let your mouth say your initial gut reaction. So that's probably the hardest step to master, and that's something I'm still working on as well. Step number 2 is ironically leaning into the stereotype around women where we're supposed to be more empathic, we're supposed to be caregivers, we're supposed to be, you know, the sort of more pushover-y type of people. And I lean into that sometimes to get curious about where the other person is coming from and asking those open-ended questions to sort of coach them through the situation. And I think 9 times out of 10, they will be the ones to say it themselves, essentially why this old way of working was not working, even though they'll basically never use those exact words. But that light bulb I've seen go off in people's heads, and then eventually that, whether they admit it or not to your face, that makes them acknowledge why you're bringing the value that you are to the situation to improve things, not just for you, but for the entire company.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Great questions, everyone. So we are at time again for questions. And Tiffany, I can empathize with you on the 2 direct feedback. If I had $1 for every time I had that, I might not have to work. That is definitely my go-to feedback that I get. So today, now we're going to move into our second part of today's meeting, which is our table topic section. So this section is to help us all improve our impromptu speaking skills. And our table topics master today is going to be Sam. Sam is currently an associate product manager at Shortcut and has been a long-standing member of our Toastmasters Club. She's based out of New York. So I think today definitely has a special place in Sam's heart as well as the rest of ours. And she always has some great insights to share. So I am excited for her questions today. Sam, let's welcome you to our Toastmasters stage, and you can give us some difficult questions, I'm sure, to solve today.
Thank you, Lori. That was a great intro. Happy to speak with everyone at Toastmasters, and welcome to our guests. I am your table topics master for today. And today's topic is problem solving, and a great topic it is because we are a group of problem solvers as product managers. It's funny when you look up in the Google or wherever you're searching online or other sources, how to solve a problem as a PM, you see all the different frameworks, all the easy steps, all the ways to do it. And we also learned about frameworks today that are super, super helpful. And yet we talk about how difficult problem solving can be as a PM. So there are definitely other complexities at play here. from working with an eclectic group of team members and team dynamics. There may be unclear goals as an organization or the company that you're working at. There may be a lack of communication due to other reasons like working remote, the different personalities that you work with, the different styles of working, getting alignment on the right problems to solve. That's where things get interesting. And something that I've gathered is the best way to work through those complexities is to practice solving problems. And there you will gain those softer skills that help you really use those frameworks that we are all discussing and using to apply when solving problems. So I'm really excited to hear from everyone in this virtual room about problems that they have solved and the ways that they do it to help us all practice and learn and grow as PMs and problem solvers. Toast for table topics. I will call on folks. I'll focus first on folks who don't have a role, but this is a smaller meeting, so I may call on some individuals that have roles, and we will continue on. Okay. First question I have ready to go. In a world of working remote or hybrid, there's a lot of communication that happens asynchronously or in a virtual one-on-one meeting. Things get disjointed. So how, as a PM, do you solve problems in this virtual hybrid world that we live in, and in working with your team to solve those problems? And I will send this question over to Rosie.
Yeah, so I'm currently in a hybrid, but we're across the country, so none of us ever see each other. So remote is what I'd call it. And the way that we kind of communicate when we have these like difficulties in alignment or just, communication in general is we like to take notes or we'd like to document things. And so there's the process of like, let's get a meeting on the calendar. And then once we're there, we open up a Word doc and we're kind of going through it. I do like the pursuit framework. I've never used it in a meeting, but I think it might be something that I'll bring in, especially if we're starting over from like a very like high level, like we're not sure where we're going in what direction, what pain point, all those things. But we generally just take notes and kind of like try and figure out where the miscommunication is. Are we on the same page? And then also making sure that we understand any AIs and next steps. So for each individual, like I'll say like, this is what I'm going to do next. This is when, and then also adding timelines. So if we're meeting again next week, this AI should be completed by next week. And that's the expectation that everyone carries through. I'm very fortunate to work with people that care about their jobs. And so everyone's like type A and does everything. Hasn't always been the case in previous jobs, but so if I get that type of environment, I'm not sure how I'd navigate it again now. But yeah, we always pull up a Word doc. We have someone that's taking notes and we're kind of just trying to figure out an alignment plan there. And then, like I said, align on next steps and AIs. So yeah. Perfect.
For that question, Rosie.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for the question, or thank you for the answer.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, on to the next question. As a PM, there are a lot of user problems to solve. Many problems. How, as a PM, do you prioritize those problems at your organization? And I'm going to send this question to, let's see, Srimai.
Hey, Sam, thank you for the question. Would you mind repeating it again?
Of course. As a PM, there are a lot of user problems to solve. How do you, as a PM, prioritize those problems at your organization with your team?
Sure. Thank you so much for that, for repeating that. So definitely, I can speak from my experience right now of starting my company. So we decided to start this business to consult on a specific aspect of the business's problem, which is pricing. So we know based on a lot of interviews from customers that this is a legitimate problem that but businesses are facing right now. And we started working towards, as a product manager, I started making plans and roadmap towards, features that will cater to the consulting business of this. And suddenly after speaking to a lot of other customers and running some surveys, I realized that there are other bigger problems that are currently faced by the businesses when it comes to pricing, rather than what I focused on initially when I began this company a couple of months back. So for me as a product manager, my main factor that influences what I work on is the customer interview and the surveys that I ran. So based on the feedback, that's what I'm prioritizing currently, sometimes pivoting and sometimes switching or changing priorities. But it's a great question, timely one, because I currently am facing that right now, slightly pivoted to a different problem to focus on based on the customer feedback.
Thanks for that answer. Okay, on to the next one. As a problem solver, as a PM, one big part of solving a problem is then getting buy-in on the solution that you've surfaced with your team in relation to a problem that you're focused on. How do you, as a PM, gain that buy-in from other stakeholders at your organization or team? And I will hand this question off to Amy.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Of course. As a PM, as a problem solver, one big part of solving a problem is gaining buy-in on the solution that you've surfaced in relation to that problem. How do you, as a PM, get buy-in for the solution that you're proposing with your team or organization?
I think so. My approach is usually to if I know something's gonna, especially if I know something's gonna be a like drastic change, I try to like float the idea ahead of time before and kind of say, oh, we maybe like we understand that this is a problem. We want to improve this. We're thinking about like some different options like this, and this, or, sort of try to get kind of people thinking ahead of time, like this is a problem. We should do something about this. And then move into later moving into what the solution is that we're trying to in more detail. And by then, hopefully people have kind of, I've learned from someone a long time ago that it takes people like 7 times, it's a change management thing, I guess, 7 times to hear something before it really sinks in. So that's why part of my process is to kind of float things ahead of time. And then when we actually are ready to present things that we've have them all fleshed out, people kind of have this in their head, or at least in the back of their minds. So they're not hearing this for the first time going, oh my gosh, this is a huge change, or this is a big problem, or like, I don't know what's going on kind of thing. So it helps to kind of ease people into things. Thank you.
Nice. Thanks, Amy. Okay. On to the next question prepared. Okay, the next question here is, as a PM, sometimes you solve a problem that you've seen before related to your user. Then there are other times that a problem is discovered that may have been completely unknown or something completely new conceptually as a PM. Describe a time that you had to solve a problem related to either the product you're working on or for your user that you've never experienced before, and how did you go about solving that new problem? I will direct this question to Eva.
So I think being new to my company, I've only been at my company a few months, so I feel like everything I'm working on is kind of in that unknown realm. But the current problem that I'm working on is basically an issue that I'm seeing for users, not through the users themselves, but through other product managers. I'm basically more like a platform product manager, I guess you could call me. So I'm not the traditional PM in that sense, but what I've been doing is looking at data. Data is what can tell you the story. So I can see what customers are having errors or what customers are having failure points. So I use that as my guide whenever I get kind of pushback and need to get buy-in, going to the second previous question. And I've been interviewing a lot of my fellow product managers because they talk to external customers. And I'm asking them, have you seen a customer with this issue? Has a customer complained about this with you? What can you kind of tell me that I can make things better with what I'm working on from a platform standpoint? So I think for me, again, talking to a lot of people, looking at data, and just basically taking a step back and asking a lot of questions. I think I saw a tweet yesterday, and I don't know who said it, but why is basically our superpower. So just keep questioning the why, and I think that'll lead you to your story.
That's great, Eva, questioning the why. That's awesome. Okay, I have one, potentially two more questions before I move forward. Is there a guest that would like a question before I direct it to another member? Okay. All right, the next question. Okay, we have two. Okay, next question, potentially the last question of table topics. PMs, especially today, are bombarded by a lot of fancy tools to use in all of, the areas that a PM works. There is this tool for that function, including problem solving. As a PM, have you used a specific tool to help solving problems? Is there something that you use to help collaborate when solving a problem? Would love to hear if so. And if not, explain why you don't ever like to use these fancy tools that exist out there for PMs. And I will direct this question to Amelia.
Thank you, Sam, for the question. I've used definitely a variety of tools in my PM career so far. I've used different tools for road mapping, like product board, and to collaborate with other stakeholders. I've used a few different tools for data analysis as well, and have used various other tools for user research and exploration and discovery. However, I do think that sometimes simple can be best when it comes to tools, and especially when, as a product manager, we're navigating across various teams and companies over the course of our careers. I often find that a simple Excel sheet or Google sheet, documents, and just spending time with the right individuals on your specific teams seems to get the job done better than a lot of fancy tools that one might be exposed to. Although I do think it's helpful to learn how these tools work and have different kinds of experiences with the tool, so you're able to provide perspective there. I do often find that I turn back to a simple sheet, SQL, and really the basics of analysis to really get a lot of my job done day to day.
Nice. Thanks for that answer, Amelia. This was a really fun table topics round. I had a great time being your table topics master. And I will now hand it off back to our Toastmaster for today. Lori,
Thank
take
you,
it away.
Sam. Thanks, Sam. These were excellent questions and really got me thinking about all kinds of different things. So now we are headed into our third portion of today's meeting, which is our general evaluations. So for that, I'm going to turn it over to Surmai to run our evaluation section. So Surmai, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster Lori. Give me 1 second. Yes, thank you, Madam Toastmaster. I'm going to start with evaluations for today. Let me go ahead and pick this up. All right. So I request our evaluator for the first speech was Sirisha Aluru to evaluate the first speaker today. Over to you, Sirisha.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So I really loved the framework that Sarita has mentioned today. So great speech, Sarita, overall. So what I thought was like, you had the right amount of introduction and you set the stage very well. So I knew like, what topic you're going to talk about. So yes, we all have like, issues, and we always face problems in both in professional and personal life, and having a framework really helps us navigate through those problems and come up with a solution. So I love all the I think I can say like, how you mentioned about all eclectic people you encounter while you're trying to come up with problem solving. And I did write down all the examples that you provided. So great insights there. So overall, I really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to hear more from you, Sarita. And I think, I felt like, you had your maybe the camera on a different side. So I know it's very hard. Even I have a challenge, like, bringing look at my notes and also engage audience in this online setting. So I would just say, like, if you want to work on an next speech, maybe move the camera to the to the main screen so that you're looking at the camera. So that is I think that is the only thing that I have for you. And also I was when you said, problem solving in personal, so I just wanted to see, like, if you can provide an example and have like this framework applied to that problem. So it's just something, I want to hear from you more. So yeah, overall it's a great speech and a good framework that you actually I've known so many frameworks, but not this one. So thank you for presenting that today. And yeah, I enjoyed it, and I have sent you the feedback. So hopefully I'll hear from you pretty soon now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sirisha. Appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Over to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Sirisha, for that evaluation. Moving on.
Can I ask a question? Yeah.
Sure.
So in the pathways, the prepared speech can be given like 5 to 7 minutes, but I saw the timer go off like quickly, and I think here we do it for 5 minutes. The personal example, I wanted to really give a good one. I like cut it off, realizing, oh man, we only do 5 minutes here. So my question to you is, do we allow for 7-minute speech versus doing only 5?
Yeah, if I'm not wrong, the timer goes green at 5 minutes, and 7 minutes is when it goes red. So the green, yellow, and yeah, red happens in
Okay.
between 5 to 7 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
No problem. All right. Next will be our second evaluator, Jennifer Ginsburg, evaluating our second speaker for today. Jennifer, over to you.
Yeah, can I get Tiffany up? All right, thank you for that. So Tiffany, I really loved your speech. As always, you bring such a great amount of energy. I feel like in the way that you speak, you can tell, you get a sense of who you are. You're a great speaker. I love hearing you speak. I also want to say you did a great job on your hand gestures, your body language. You leaned into the camera, you used your hands, they're above into the frame. So I felt very engaged as an audience member. I also appreciated and enjoyed that you gave very real world examples of how you use your communication style and specific examples of things that you might say, things you do in the moment that exemplify your own communication style. I also felt like you always have a really great pace in your communication. It's not too fast, it's not too slow. You do appropriate pauses within your speech, and you're also very clear. So those are all great things that you do very, very well. I also liked at the end, I like that engagement with your audience. I know that's always a challenge, especially in Zoom, to engage your audience, bring in people to participate, but you did a little exercise there where you said, visualize yourself and the next time you do X, Y, and Z. So I thought that was a great way to bring in people in a Zoom type setting or a virtual setting. A couple of things you might want to work on though, and they're very minor, is frame yourself in your frame so that you have a little bit of space between your head and the top, right? But also at the same time, I think it's great that I can clearly see your face. You're like leaned into the camera. I felt very engaged. The other thing that I thought would be helpful, and it's something to consider, is, this specific assignment within your pathways was a little bit odd because you go through a whole like teach time webinar about what are the different communication styles. As an audience member, I wasn't quite sure what all those communication styles were. So you use terms that came from that teach time or webinar within the pathways. If you're not familiar with those things, find ways that you can engage your audience instead of using the term. Maybe use the concept a little bit more, and that would help us all be on the same page where you are. So if that makes sense. And so one of the things that I think you're very effective on, and I would challenge you to do more of or do differently, is engage in those micro story examples. It's through the art of telling those stories that you are the most effective, and I think it resonates the most with people. So find ways to bring in those micro examples or stories, whether it be from yourself or from observation that you've seen in other venues. Overall, loved hearing your speech. You have such great energy. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for sharing your insights on communication styles.
Thank you so much, Jen. Always appreciate your feedback, and I totally agree with your constructive feedback as well. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for evaluating our second speaker today. Next, I'd like to ask our grammarian for today, Eva Beasley, to give her report.
Sure. Zoom is being odd. Okay, so as far as the grammarian and the word of the day statistics for eclectic, the winner is Tiffany, who used this word 5 times today, followed by Sharitha with 3, Jennifer with 2, and Sam and Shrisha tied with 1. So great work, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to call upon our timer for today, Marguerite, to give her report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. So for our prepared speeches, Smita clocked in at 8 minutes and 48 seconds. So a little overtime. Tiffany was right within time at 6 minutes and 25 seconds. For our evaluations, Shrisha's was 2 minutes and 15 seconds, so right within time, and Jennifer's is 3 minutes and 1 second, so also within time. And then for our table topics, everyone was within time. Rosie, 1 minute and 56 seconds. Shimai, 1 minute and 47 seconds. Amy, 1 minute and 28 seconds. Ava, 1 minute and 41 seconds. And Amelia, 1 minute and 22 seconds. I think that completes my timers report. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you so much, Marguerite, for that report. Next, I'd like to call upon our counter for today, Amelia, to give her report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. For my report today, I have down Marguerite for 1 2 uhs, Lori for 2 ums, Sarita for 5+ ums, 3 uhs, Tiffany for 1 Sam for 1 Rosie for 1 Srimai for 5+ ums, 4+ uhs, Amy for 1 Ava for 2 ums, Sarisha for 2 uhs, 2 ums, and Jennifer for 1 If there's anyone I missed, I may just not have heard any of the filler words or uhs and ums that you said today. So congrats on that.
Thank you so much for that report, Amelia. Now I'm going to give a quick report on or evaluate in general about the meeting today. The meeting started off on time at 10:30 my time, Indian Standard Time, and there was a good introduction about the meeting. I know there was a quick mix-up about the theme of today, but it happens, and I'm generally very happy with the way the meeting started. The guests were introduced formally by our president and asked to speak, so that went pretty well too. And the Toastmaster of the day, Laurie, you did a great job. Very well explained. The theme of the day was very well explained, and you introduced it and you blended it well, and then gradually introduced the general evaluator. Let me see my notes here. You also introduced the table topics master. Everything went well. So Laurie, I think you did a great job today, and I was very intrigued and interested in listening to you as the Toastmaster. I, as a general evaluator, was not completely sure of the second speaker, which I think I should have gone better, a little better for me to be on top of it. The table topics were really great. Again, the topics were properly explained by our table topics master, and all the questions were pretty great. They fit in pretty well with the meeting theme. And I'm not entirely sure if any of our guests spoke, but that's something we can. I know it's a very small meeting, but if there's somebody new and if they probably opted out of it, so that's something that we can encourage our guests to join the table topics round for the next time. And I'm pretty happy with the way the flow of handoff happening here from the Toastmaster to general evaluator to Toastmaster to table topics. So everything went pretty well. I think, yeah, that's pretty much it. And grammarian, yeah, I'd like to congratulate everybody on using the word of the day, and grammarian have picked up a really good word. As we know, everybody engaged in it and used it multiple times. So kudos for that. And the timer report was pretty good. And as our counter, it was pretty good and detailed as well. So in general, happy with the way the meeting went on today. And I'd like to hand this off to our table topics master, Sam, to report the winner of the table topics today.
Thank you. The winner today was Rosie. Nice job, Rosie. And nice job, everyone who participated in table topics. It was great listening to everyone's answers. It's my favorite section. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Sam, and congratulations, Laurie. So I'm going to hand this off to over to Laurie for the next item. Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, and thank you all for having me as your Toastmaster today. This was an excellent meeting about problem solving. So before I pass it over to our president to hear from our guest and our VP to give a few announcements, I'm going to leave you with one more Albert Einstein quote because I love his quote so much. And that is, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we use to create them. So get yourself an eclectic group together and solve your problems from a different perspective. I'm going to pass it over to Rosie to hear from our guests.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'd love to bring up any guests and hear any feedback or general comments about the meeting. Anyone want to go first? Or just how was your experience today? Tina or Cynthia?
I'll go if it's okay. I enjoyed the meeting very much. It was very interesting. I felt a little out of place because I'm not a product manager. I'm a systems person. I've done some project management. I've interacted with stakeholders, but I'm not in the same interest group that all of you are in. But I learned a lot about speaking. I like the very structured approach that you use to manage the meeting, and I like the flow of the activity. So I really enjoyed it a lot. And I wondered if there's going to be someone available after the meeting to discuss future meetings.
Yeah, we're gonna have a Q&A after, so feel free to stay on.
Okay, thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah, I kind of echo Cynthia's remarks. I like the structure of the meeting, and then I'd love to learn more about like everyone's roles and parts and how that whole, how that's all scheduled and situated. Because it was very organized, and everyone had their role, and I really like that because even if you weren't this like, I guess, like the topic presenter, you were still you're still practicing speaking within your role. And I learned about a new framework that I had never heard of before. So I think I really enjoyed it.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you both enjoyed it. I'd encourage you to stay after if you have any, I know you mentioned some questions, both of you, so we can get to those in a bit. But for now, I'll pass it back to Lori, our Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Rosie. And I'm just going to pass it over to Marguerite, who's going to have any club announcements from the VPE role, and then our Sergeant of Arms can dismiss us. So go ahead, Marguerite.
Yes, so I have a standard announcement for the club. Please sign up for roles. It's more of a request. So here, I just put a link into our meeting rules sheet in the chat. If you would like, so our next meeting, the theme is working with your product pod. We are looking for we need more speakers. We are going to have a great, I'm sure, a great icebreaker from Liz. And but we need a couple more speakers and a Toastmaster as well. If you're interested in being a Toastmaster, please just go ahead and comment in the sheet or let me know. And if next meeting doesn't work out for you, but you're interested in future meetings, please go ahead and comment or put your name in the sheet. And that's it. Throw it to our Sergeant at Arms, Amy.
Thanks, Marguerite. And thanks everyone for a great meeting. I really enjoyed hearing all about the frameworks and problem solving. Very great meeting. So I will stop the recording and we will be adjourned.